last tip is to plan, to be very intentional about your... All right, good morning. We have chest workout today. Yesterday did legs, super feeling it. You don't work out for a week and change and it's like you're getting right back into it from the start. So I'm definitely feeling it a little bit, as in my legs are feeling it. But excited to do a chest workout. I think we just have bench on a 5x5, dumbbell overhead press with a 4x6, and then probably finish off with some tricep extensions. We'll see what I can fit on this video, but that's the current plan. Blood sugar is currently at 137, which I am more than okay with. So we're gonna go ahead and get warmed up here on the bench and get this thing going. I don't know if this is a normal a normal thing, but I actually really like being sore. Like I mean, obviously it's not comfortable, and trying to get upstairs when your legs don't work is like embarrassing. But for the most part, I really like being sore. I feel like it's validating that you put in good effort and your body is clearly working hard. So I think it's a good sign that you're doing something right. Feeling pretty good. I feel like ever since I was sick all of last week pretty much, and then this week, since feeling better, I feel like I've just felt way better. It was nice to have a weekend where I wasn't traveling or super busy, just gotta chill, which I'm learning as I get older in my ripe old age of 26, that rest is definitely part of the equation if you're looking to be healthy. Beautiful. I think by the time I post this video, I'll have a video up about the story of my diagnosis. And I am excited to hear the feedback on that one, because I know a lot of people probably have a similar story. But weirdly enough, I feel like I get a lot of questions about my diagnosis. I feel like a lot of people are curious about type 1, and they'll see me injecting or hear my Dexcom go off at work and ask questions, which is definitely a good thing. I like that people are curious, but with that, I feel like a lot of them ask like, oh, have you had it since you were a kid? and then I say no, and they're like, wait, I thought type 1 is normally like juvenile diabetes, which is just an interesting conversation to then go into. No, actually, there's like a subset of diabetes, like adult onset, and that's the one I've got. Diagnosed at 21, and definitely cool to talk to people about it, I guess, because you're educating and giving good awareness at the same time. So I don't mind. All right, that was the first working set, and I think we're gonna go to just adding some 10s, and I think we're doing that for the next few sets. Yep. All right, and I've been trying to be a little bit better about my rest times. Not only for the sake of these videos, but for training's sake, making sure that I'm not too loosey-goosey with my training and making sure that I'm hitting exercises in a time window that's efficient, which is a lot easier said than done when I'm trying to talk to a camera about diabetes and life, and not a good multitasker. But I do want to put out a video about kind of the goals I have with lifting. Currently my workout and diet is catered to strength, and that's kind of my main goal. I feel like last year I got a little bit too skinny, and felt kind of that skinny is not a bad thing, but I felt more weak than skinny, just because all I was doing was running. I didn't really incorporate weight training as much as I should. And so I definitely felt that. And so this year I was like, oh, I want to get it back. So that's definitely the focus of this year, but one step at a time. Feeling good so far. So I guess on that topic, I definitely do have some goals for this year. It'll be interesting to see if I run any races this year. I would love to do another like marathon or even a half. My wife and I have talked about doing something like that every year. I think we're going to do a golf tournament this year as well. The challenge is there just to kind of push both of us to do new things. And when you sign up for events like that, I feel like there's a little bit more accountability in terms of like, we paid money to participate in this event, so we need to train for it and show up and do decent. So I'm excited for that, but also on the like strength goals front, I have kind of my individual goals of, okay, here's where I want to be at the end of the year. And here's hopefully where I can get to with my strength. And that has been an interesting journey with type 1 diabetes. Strength has definitely been difficult, and being in the gym has been difficult for many reasons. But let me hit this set, and then we'll chat about weights and diabetes. Okay, so one of the things that makes weightlifting with diabetes difficult is blood sugar. And this seems like this is more of a logistical problem than like a health problem, but I cannot tell you how many times I've driven to the gym or slotted out time in my day for a workout and then my blood sugar doesn't align. Meaning I'm so excited, so banking on working out at that time, the rest of my day's booked out, and I'll start working out and my blood sugar tanks. And there's no powering through that. There's no switching your mindset and your blood sugar goes up. Like, you have to treat the low. And sometimes you're able to, if your low is 50 or 60, and numbers are different for everybody, but if my lows aren't super bad, I can take maybe like 10 minutes and try and get my sugar up, and then I can start working out and I feel pretty good. I definitely see it impact the workout because I don't want to go as hard as if my blood sugars were stable all leading up. But that's been a really difficult aspect of training with type 1. And I think that applies to any physical training with diabetes. Is you just have to learn to adapt, which is easier said than done. So anyway, we got one set left on these. So that first kind of difficulty of blood sugars is definitely difficult. And then I think another element is food/diet. And this obviously depends on what your goals are in the gym or with your respective sport or activity. But food obviously plays a huge part in diabetics' life. We have to calculate carbs, we have to maintain the blood sugar, stay in a healthy range. We have to make sure our diet aligns with our schedule, which is another hard one. And specifically with weightlifting, I've noticed that, especially as I've been trying to bulk up, it's kind of hard for me to be incentivized to eat. I've never been a big foodie. I don't enjoy eating. If I could live the rest of my life and never eat again, I would 100% take it, no question. And that was even before diabetes, when food became more of a chore. But I realize that's probably not the healthiest perspective to have on food, but that's how I see it. And so as I've been trying to bulk up, gain weight, I know I need to intake this amount of calories spread out amongst this many meals or snacks. And so I find myself taking more insulin, more shots, calculating more. And it's just an added pressure, an added task that I have to work in every day if I'm gonna accomplish these goals, which I'm absolutely here for, but it definitely makes it difficult. And so obviously, depending on what your goals are, I know not everyone's trying to bulk up, but even if you're trying to lose weight, you're gonna shift your diet and your lifestyle to reflect that goal. And as such, you have to change your insulin. And so that leads to differences in diet and your schedule and how much insulin you take. And so that'll shift your numbers, and there's an adjustment period. And so diet can also be another difficult part about physical exercise, specifically with lifting weights and being in the gym. Beautiful. I can probably up the weight next workout, which is awesome. Okay, so we've got dumbbell overhead press up next. And I'll get all these weights off. So we have maintaining healthy blood sugars is a difficulty, diet's a difficulty, and then I'm trying to think how I want to articulate this, because I don't want to use this as an excuse, but I think there is a narrative around type 1 that it's just harder to do everything. And that's super broad, like super vague. Yes, there is some truth to that. If you didn't have type 1 diabetes, a lot of things would be easier. But I remember when I was diagnosed, I've always had goals of getting stronger and being in the gym a lot and staying healthy and seeing my progress based off the amount of weight I can lift or how far and fast I can run, my cardiovascular shape, aerobic health, everything's factored in. And I thought when I was diagnosed that diabetes would just take my genetic physical capability and just cut it by 30%. So me without type 1 diabetes, if my max squat was 375 or something, now with diabetes, that gets cut back to 300. And I remember being a little disheartened at the thought of that it's oh man, why should I even try if I can't reach my genetic limit, you know? So I'll talk more about that after the set, but that's been a difficult part for me in terms of the mental aspect of, am I still capable enough with type 1? Am I still strong enough with type 1? Do I even have capabilities to become stronger, or become fitter, or run that far, or lift that heavy? And that's been tough. All right, overhead press. We're gonna do one arm because I didn't set up the other one, so we'll see how this goes. But I'm gonna hit these lights. Oh, and the ceiling. Need smaller weights. right, we are gonna have to switch to the kettlebell because I was hitting the ceiling a little too much on that. Let me adjust that. All right. Where was I at? I have always loved working out in a home gym, but the one thing that's tough is obviously if you don't have the range of equipment that you would in a commercial gym, and the amount of, if you are using dumbbells and kettlebells. Granted, my dumbbells are adjustable, so I can get them pretty heavy, but a kettlebell, I only have one. So my weight is kind of locked across the different exercises that I would use it for. So anyway, the joys. But sorry, back to kind of that mental aspect of working out with type 1. I bring that up because when I was diagnosed, I felt that and was pretty discouraged. But after, I think maybe a year, and I'd worked out during that year and had a little running stint, went to the gym. But I took training seriously, and I mentioned last episode that there was a period where I was super consistent for like 18 months. That was when I had diabetes. That was in the midst of me switching from a normal Western carb-based diet to a keto diet and back. There were a lot of different pieces moving around in that. Injury at the very end of that. But I was amazed to see that my progress didn't seem limited by type 1, which I was thrilled about. And let me hit the set and then I'll get more into that. So as I started lifting more, I obviously found out where my kind of baseline was at, my benchmark. And so I started there, and then I set some goals for the end of that year, and was in the gym religiously, wanting to get stronger. I felt like my diet did play a big part. I had it pretty dialed in terms of not only how much I was eating and my ability to get stronger and gain some weight because I was in the gym, but on the other side of that, I was dialed in the way that I had pretty well maintained blood sugars. And so the amount of times that I missed a workout because of a huge high or a huge low were pretty minimal. And I just remember being really excited, even at the beginning when I was still pretty weak. And I thought back to all my PRs in high school, and I was like, man, I'm so far away from those. I'm so weak, I'm older. But I remember being excited about like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And I'm gonna prove to myself that I can. And so worked out really hard. Loved my workouts, and I wasn't perfect at having the best, most efficient workouts. I missed every now and again, and then my diet sometimes faltered. I didn't eat as much as I should, or stuff happens. But ultimately, I started seeing a lot of progress in all of my lifts, and I just felt so good, felt really healthy. And I just remember being so, so happy that I was like, okay, maybe diabetes doesn't inhibit my ability to become stronger as much as I thought it did. Maybe I'm still able to achieve as much as I want in the gym, despite my diabetes. And that was so incredible to experience, and that was so encouraging and helpful for me as a type 1 to start seeing some of that progress. And I just remember being so thrilled when I started seeing those numbers come up. And I was like, oh, I'm actually progressing like I thought I would, and I'm going to be able to reach those goals. And I ended up reaching a lot of those goals that I had in the gym during that time. And it was really, really incredible. And I say that without boasting or being cocky. I needed that. That was right after my diagnosis, and I felt like that was a huge confidence boost to see myself being able to succeed even with type 1. Huge. So with all that being said, I wanted to get into a few, I guess, tips, what I've learned with a few years of managing diabetes and being in the gym. And there's definitely a lot to learn, but I think one of the main things I've found helpful is routine in working out when your blood sugars are the most stable. So right now it's 6 something in the morning. I pretty much wake up and come down here and work out because my blood sugars will be up and down from dinner, and then as I go to sleep they'll level out. And then when I wake up in the morning, I have this window before I would start going low from not having food in me and still having some basal insulin. I have this window where I can work out and my blood sugars are normally, big asterisk, normally stable. And I've found that to be really helpful in not only consistency with working out, which is majorly important, but consistency in not having to miss or get frustrated with working out because it's 2 p.m., you take a break from work, you ate at 12, but you misdosed and now your blood sugar's too low, and you left work to go to the gym and now you can't because you're too low, you have to treat the low, and then the rest of your day's booked out and you miss your workout. So that's been a huge tip for me, is finding a consistent time to work out where your blood sugars are stable. Last set of those. So feel bad. I'll wrap up here in a sec, or maybe I'll do a few sets of tricep extents, and I don't know if you guys can see my janky little rig here, but I normally just throw on a little weight, and this is not about strength. This is more about hypertrophy, and I do think some isolation work on triceps is important for increasing some of your main compound lifts, especially bench and anything overhead. So I do normally do some work on it, but I felt bad cutting it short when I've got a few other tips for working out with type 1. But let me, I'm gonna have to move this bar. Hold on. So routine, consistency, and then another tip, and this one's gonna sound lame, I apologize, but patience. I think it can take a while to find out what works for you while working out with type 1. I think everybody's body's different. You're gonna respond to exercises differently, and especially while we're managing type 1, it's just going to be different. But the one thing that I want to promise is progress. And so I feel like patience with consistency and hard work will equal progress. And based off those variables, the progress might look a little bit different, but ultimately you will see progress. And I think if you're patient in seeing that and expecting that, that can be really helpful, because I remember just being really excited to hit my goals, and as excited as I was to see progress, sometimes it's just not enough. And not that it's not enough for your body or for what's good for you, it's not enough because I'm impatient. And so I have, if I'm benching 225 and I'm like, oh, I want to be at 255. It's like, okay, calm down. We'll get there, but we have to work up to that point. And so I think being patient is a really underrated tip for handling anything with diabetes, especially working out. Okay, my last tip, and granted I have a few more, maybe I need to do just an episode on working out with type 1, but my last tip is to plan, to be very intentional about your workout routine, your diet, and how you manage your type 1. If you come at this, I don't want to say willy-nilly, but if you come at this just kind of like, yeah, whatever I can do in a day, I'll do. If my blood sugar's all over the place, that's fine. If I don't get a workout in, that's fine. And while I don't think there's anything bad with that, if that's what's healthy for you and that is a good system for you, go for it. If you do have serious goals and are trying to really see progress at a more rapid rate, being intentional about your planning and your diet and managing your blood sugars is going to be imperative and extremely effective. Because if you don't have a plan and you're just going about it without much intention, I think you can expect the result to reflect that. And that's been something that's been important for me. Sometimes I feel like there's times in my life where I work out just to work out. And I do feel like that's healthy. Like just getting out, you don't have expectations of running this fast or lifting this much weight. You're just working out to work out, just to move, just to be healthy. I'm all for it. If you have specific goals, I feel like that's when it requires specific planning. And so, especially with type 1, if you're trying to accomplish something in anything, being intentional about the way that you take insulin, when you work out, when you eat, those are going to directly impact and influence the progress that you see. And that's been huge for me. And so, easier said than done. It takes a lot of forethought and discipline to make that plan and stick to that plan. But ultimately, you can accomplish a lot with type 1. And I'm trying to prove that over and over to myself, and hopefully I can share that journey with everybody. But as difficult as it can be, it's worth it. And I'm grateful that there's a little extra challenge with type 1 in everything that I try and do, from work, building a career, to working out. It's all made a little bit more difficult with type 1, but it doesn't change the fact that I can still reach my goals. And the same is true for all of you. So keep going after it, one by one.